Republican leaders have claimed that social media companies censor their views, and a popular term that they've used is shadow banning. It's a term President Trump has previously used as well. And this weekend, he continued his criticism of tech giants. He tweeted that social media is totally discriminating against Republican and conservative voices.
As far as it goes with Twitter, the argument is that Twitter is basically stopping people from seeing certain tweets without outright banning or deleting their accounts. The reason it's a shadow ban is the idea you don't know people aren't seeing your stuff, even though they aren't. It's worth noting, though, it's not really happening.
He talked about this conservative grievance that they're being discriminated against in social media. And so, you know, the president, he likes to talk about how there's this media collusion game that is stacked against him. Conservatives aren't being discriminated and abused on social media. They have just as much of a landscape that they dominate as the left does. And one could argue that they have a much bigger footprint.
Journalist Barry Weiss published the latest details uncovering the social media giants' censorship campaign. And what we're learning tonight is downright appalling. Newly unearthed documents now prove that left-wing Twitter employees built blacklists of accounts that they didn't like and would, quote, prevent disfavored tweets from trending and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret, without informing anybody on Twitter.
Conservatives love to claim they're actually the victims of bias from social media companies.
People are very concerned that conservative voices are going to be suppressed on social media.
These social media outlets censor public figures who are conservatives.
Twitter has become Orwellian as a thought police force.
Anything that's conservative, you know what? Anything that's patriotic.
Facebook had purposely and routinely suppressed conservative stories from trending news.
Cruz isn't the only conservative who thinks big tech is hiding his posts because he's right-wing. They even have a special name for it.
They shadow ban Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows and Ronna McDaniel.
Every day I receive thousands of messages saying I'm being shadow banned.
Banning or shadow banning.
The shadow banning from, the social justice warriors and the social media companies.
Shadow ban. 100%.
There's no evidence that shadow banning conservatives is a thing.
Twitter repeatedly denied the use of shadow banning. Twitter was lying. They lied over and over again. I had interviewed at one point Jack Dorsey. He told me specifically, no, we don't shadow ban.
Republicans are being shadow banned from Twitter. President Trump is tweeting that this is discriminatory and illegal. But there is a real thing called shadow banning. And unlike what Trump is claiming, it is not happening to Republicans on Twitter.
I think folks on the right have to realize there is not really any evidence of systemic shadow banning, bias, etc.
We're also learning tonight that Twitter formed a secret group that featured the company's highest-ranking executives that would make decisions in private without much of a paper trail to censor or ban high-profile conservative accounts.
Literally no evidence that conservatives are being silenced, which makes the fact that tech companies are bowing to their demands even more insane.
Are we doing something according to political ideology or viewpoints? And we are not. Period. We do not look at content with regards to political viewpoint or ideology. We need to constantly show that we are not adding our own bias, which I fully admit is more left-leaning.
We all know a liar when we see one. They lie when they don't have to.
There's no anti-conservative bias on social media.
Journalist Barry Weiss dropped new Twitter documents proving the company censored conservatives. People like Dan Bongino, Charlie Kirk, libs of TikTok, and even a Stanford doctor who said lockdowns would hurt children were secretly shadow banned on Twitter. Their posts were being purged, buried, secretly censored. Many conservatives were straight up being banned. The media told us we were imagining things. Headline after headline told us, move along, there's nothing to see here. Every reporter said Twitter isn't shadow banning Republicans, even though they were.
Social media is being rigged to censor conservatives. Is that true of Twitter?
No.
I don't know what Twitter is up to. It sure looks like to me that they're censoring people, and they ought to stop it. Are you censoring people?
No.
Turns out he lied under oath, lied to Congress, which is supposed to be a crime, and he lied to you. Twitter wasn't just censoring conservative speakers. Elon said today they were even censoring Republican political campaigns. Millions of voters and constituents couldn't see what Republican campaigns were saying or what Republican politicians were saying. And while this was happening, Democrat politicians, Democrat campaigns were pumped straight into your bloodstream.
Now, when it comes to if shadow banning is illegal, well, I have some inside information on this. Are you ready? Okay, listen up. Social networks can ban whoever they want. So be good on the internet, kids.
You see that? That's a stupid bitch.
A $40 billion company rigged America's political debate to help their preferred political party. A private company was doing political favors for Democrat candidates. Election laws were broken. Elections were interfered with. Twitter was providing in-kind contributions to Democrat candidates, and none of this was disclosed. It was all done in the dark. And Republican fundraising was affected. Democracy was poisoned. The former CEO of Jack Dorsey knew exactly what he was doing, and he had an army of lobbyists dominating Democrat regulators in D.C. so he could get away with it.
The platform doesn't skew towards an ideology, it skews toward extremism.
Twitter was an arm of the Democratic Party and a malicious arm. Take a look.
Clearly, if Twitter is doing one team's bidding before an election, shutting down dissenting voices on a pivotal election, that is the very definition of election interference. Frankly, Twitter was acting like an arm of the Democratic National Committee. It was absurd.
There's no evidence that shadow banning conservatives is a thing.
Now, the compromised congenital liar, Adam Schiff, he's so deeply troubled by Elon Musk and his push for free speech that he's now just flat out lying about hate speech on the platform, citing zero evidence at all whatsoever. Schiff tweeted earlier today, quote, against slurs against black people have tripled on Elon Musk's Twitter, and claimed that slurs against women are on the rise, too. Musk immediately poured cold water on those claims, replying, quote, false hate speech impressions are actually down by a third for Twitter now versus prior to the acquisition. Meanwhile, the White House press secretary asked about the Twitter files and the Democratic push for censorship earlier today by our own Peter Doocy. All she wanted to do was not answer the question and say bye-bye.
You've said a few times that you really can't talk about communications between the Biden campaign and Twitter. Who is telling you that that's off limits?
I've already had that conversation with you, with your colleague, I believe, yesterday. I've already addressed this multiple times this week, so I don't have anything more to add. Again, we've litigated this all week. Don't have anything to add.
So not a campaign
I'm going to the back. I'm going to the back. I'm going to the back. Go ahead.
There's no anti-conservative bias on social media.